Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Mona's Rants. I am your host, Mona Sheikh. You guys, lots going on. I am not in the best of moods today because I am just upset at the spiking COVID cases, the death rates, a current failing sitting president who refuses to back down and concede, and all the other levels of corruption that sadly are what is known as the GOP. Anyways, I have a very special guest today. I've been meaning to bring her on, and she's kind enough to give us some time to discuss what is happening in our government. I would like to welcome the chair of Democratic Party of Orange County, my very amazing friend, Ada Briceno. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you, Mona. Thank you so much for bringing me on, and congratulations on your show. I know you've received a lot of great coverage, and it's great to see your growth continue.
Thank you so much.
Thank everyone for tuning in and supporting women of color.
Thank you very much. Yes, exactly. I mean, you and I met because I used to do my show in Orange County, and you showed up to one of my shows, and we met, and I instantly knew. I was like, "Yep, that's a mi gente right there." I gotta get in touch, and I gotta keep in touch. But I wanted to kind of jump into, you and I were just having a conversation about being the chair of Democratic Party. You said that it's a full-time job without pay, and then you have another additional full-time job that does pay.
That's correct. That's right.
And
in addition to being the chairwoman of the Democratic Party, I hold a very important position for the last for some years now. But I am co-president of Unite Here Local 11, and I proudly represent hotel workers across the big part of Southern California and Arizona.
Wow. So a big part of Arizona. So what? Like, Arizona's kind of split up. They have another chair to take over
all of Arizona, but most of Southern California. So all of Southern California except for San Diego. San Diego has a local 30 is what we're sort of divided amongst regions and numbers. And so we're local 11, they're local 30.
Got it. And now, I also saw that you are part of a union called Unite 11, and I definitely want to talk about that. So can you tell us a little bit more about Unite 11 and what the union does?
Yeah, so I'm very proud to be part of this group. We like I said, I've been there for 30 years. I was a former hotel worker, and today we represent cooks and dishwashers in all that area I told you about. But we are a very progressive union, and I feel proud to stand next to very courageous women and men who decide every single day to take on multi-million-dollar corporations and win. We've had the fight of our lives in this last 9 months. 90% of our workers are out of work right now. They're laid off. Yet they're still fighting for their health care. And, we are fighting and winning. We're able to continue people's health care, a large number of our membership. We have 32,000 members, by the way.
Wow.
And so we cover themselves, the worker and their families, and we're fighting. We're doing car caravans, and we're trying to get innovative about how to do COVID safe events to highlight the issues that are affecting our working families, immigrant families across our jurisdiction.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to ask you, one of the key things that has been so unfair and really infuriating throughout this pandemic is the PPP loans that have went to multi-million-dollar companies that already have millions of dollars in their savings, and in their, they're already worth so much. Like, for instance, Harvard got a $20 million check. You have another place my brother just mentioned. I think it's the Ruth's Chris Steakhouse that got like a $17 million check, and it's just like, these people don't need the check. So what happens when you're somebody like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse that already has millions of dollars, then gets a PPP loan, and then they're like, nope, we're going to lay off a bunch of people anyways? Does the union step in and say, wait a minute, you got a stimulus? I mean, you got a PPP loan. Like, what are you laying people off?
Yes. In fact, that is actually, as you know, is happening not only with big chains in restaurants, but it's also happening in hotels. So we've called them out for it because those PPP loans were supposed to be for smaller businesses to help them get through. These multi-million-dollar corporations do not need it. And in fact, they're using it as a loan at a very low interest rate, at 1%. They're telling the government that they're going to use it to pay their employees, and they're laying people off. People are starving at home. And, and here they are with their 1% loan. We've called it out. In fact, we have called on our elected officials, members in Congress, to help us shed light on this issue. But it is gross. It's disgusting that when people just want to put food in their mouth or keep a roof over their heads, these multi-million-dollar corporations are using it to just make themselves richer.
That's right.
And it is just shame.
I mean, I just feel like this pandemic has really exposed a huge flaw in our capitalism, which is the way the current system is built is not sustainable.
Yeah, well, that's why I've been doing, and my colleagues, that's why we do the work that we do. We've known these flaws for a long period of time. Look at healthcare. Workers left and right are losing their healthcare. And in a time when they needed most, in the middle of a pandemic, we've seen these difficulties and these inhumane treatment of workers, and how people are treated under this system. And so I believe that unions are a good way to undo a lot of what happens when you're lifting wages for working families. It is important because it allows them opportunities for education. It allows them opportunities for healthcare. Look at all the health inequities that we're living. Look at the folks that are getting infected. They're mostly Black immigrants, Latinos, and there are folks that aren't able to do preventative healthcare, for example. It is shedding light on everything. Many of us have known already, Mona. Come on.
Yes.
There's others.
I think
for others, they're like shocked that we're going through this. Well, you haven't invested. Every single twist and turn, you're taking from the poor to give to the rich. And you are, and you're saying that you didn't know this? Of course we do. When we don't invest, then that's when, our systems deteriorate, and they've been deteriorated for a long period of time.
I think what's happened, I believe, like, we've known this, you've known this. I've been very kind of informed about this, having, worked in different industries. I feel like the greed has become so crystal clear. Like 2020 was really a vision of 2020, which is that it just cleared everything up. It's like, before we kind of knew that these, the government kind of didn't care. Now we're like, they really don't give a shit. Like, they don't give a shit. I mean, the likes of Mitch McConnell and all these other, GOPers who are single-handedly undermining democracy. You have a current sitting president, thank God he's almost out, that has just made a mockery of what we are as a country. I mean, it's just like, wow, man. I mean, it's, for the Kentuckians to re-elect Mitch McConnell as the Senate leader, and to sit there with a blatant face and say, no, you don't deserve a $2,000 check after 8 months, 262 days of a last measly $1,200 check. No, you don't deserve it. I'm sorry, Ada. I mean, I'm sorry, and you're a lot classier than I am about this, but Mitch McConnell can go fuck himself.
Well, I can't dispute that at all. I will not dispute that at all. It is insane. Of course, I didn't expect anything better from him, and neither did, many people. And you know what, Mona? That's why I decided to go into politics. That's why, because every single road for me, when I stood up with my colleagues to better my wage and to better, my healthcare and my retirement, I understood that every single road led to politics.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to fight.
Yeah.
That's why we have to fight and bring that voice to the table. And that's why I've decided I ran for to be chairwoman of the Democratic Party in Orange County, especially here. I'm very proud of the accomplishments, and the turns and twists that we're making, despite the place where we live. I'm very proud of the strides that we've made, but we've got so much to do still. We've got to bridge these inequalities one at a time and work really hard at that. And that's bringing people of color to the table to make sure that the issues that they live every single day, that they can legislate to make sure that we're bridging those gaps, right? So, I was also recently elected to the DNC, the Democratic National Committee. So I'm excited, even though we didn't have a convention, in person this year. I hope the next round I can participate, and I'm just eager and excited to figure out how to bring the voices and the issues that are important to our communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are, you're an Orange County resident. I just read an article a few days ago about how in Huntington Beach, there is this level of negligence. There is this level of, selfishness and self-absorbedness where folks are just going out there and they're saying, we're not going to abide by the lockdown rules or the stay-at-home orders. We're going to go out. We're going to party. We're going to do whatever. There was a concert apparently that took place. I mean, how do you get through to people like this? How do you say you're spreading the virus? This is not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse because of people like you. How do we get through people like this, Ada?
I wish I had, Mona, a good response about how to get through people. Unfortunately, I believe that they have to be infected. Unfortunately, that's the only way that they're going to have to live some of the things that we're all living in order to feel it. It's very unfortunate, and we're getting to a level of infection that we are feeling it. Every single part of our community is feeling. Everybody now knows someone or has a loved one who knows someone who's perished or is in the hospital or has had severe symptoms of the virus. And it's unfortunate, but until they feel it, I'm not sure how else they're going to abide by science. I'm not sure how they're going to help the stop of this. But, we can't be selfish. We've got to be able to know that my actions affect you. And that is more real than ever in our lifetime, right? And we've got to remember those consequences. It's very difficult to see what happens in Huntington Beach. I don't go to Huntington. Well, I don't go very many places anymore at all. But when we were in a better place, I have avoided, since the pandemic started, a Huntington Beach, because you just don't. If there's a good restaurant you want to pick up from, I won't dare go there. People are not masked. There's a lot of great people who are, but it's a way to defy what we're going through. And frankly, consequences from the leader of the nation, the past leader of the nation, or the outgoing leader of the nation. He made it literacy. But now it's a death sentence to follow one of those people. It's a death sentence. Say don't wear your mask, you get infected and you die. You have, it's a big there is a probability, some probability that you can die.
Yep, absolutely. Ada, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at spiking number of COVID cases. So I'm a freelancing artist. Like our industry is just decimated, very much like the hospitality industry, right? So just yesterday, the DGA, the PGA, the Directors Guild, the Producers Guild, SAG-AFTRA came out and released a joint statement saying all production is to be shut down. Because I'm learning that pretty much every shoot that has taken place, every production that has taken place in Los Angeles pretty much has had a COVID outbreak. So it's a real problem. However, I look at something like that and I'm like, okay, so people can't work, they can't go out, right? So the government's going to come and help us out. So, we're going to give you a $900 billion stimulus package with just a one-time $600 check. Don't ask too much. Shut up and just deal with it, right? So there's this thing happening, Ada, especially in my neighborhood in LA, is that the crime is spiking because people need to survive. People need to eat. They need to put food on the table. They need to pay their rent. And we have a spiking cases of COVID. Besides COVID, we have spiking cases of crime that's taking place. I mean, I look at the re-election of Nancy Pelosi, and I look at the re-election of Mitch McConnell and so many other, Senate and Congress folks, and there are no term limits. Because we need young blood to come in and be like, this doesn't work for us. Okay, this $600 that you're somehow, are adamant about giving, it doesn't work for the American people because we're struggling and we're suffering and crime's going up. I mean, we're all in trouble. What are your thoughts? I want to know on term limits.
Look, can I just go to the $600 for a minute, because I think it's really important for us to talk about that. Yeah, the Democrats put up, had already, for many months have had something passed to make sure that the American people got a stimulus. And, the Republicans sat on it while people are starving and losing their homes. Okay. I know of our members. They're moving in with family members. They're moving in with colleagues. They are leaving their homes because they can no longer pay. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. It is so difficult that they held it up. And the only reason why we're now passing it, okay, you know why? And not the 2000, is because of the Georgia race.
That's correct. I was just going to say, right?
The only reason why we're there. It's ridiculous. I can't even believe that we live in a country that would play games with our health, our lives, our food, our basic necessities. It's disgusting. I understand how you feel. It is very difficult to see that. And there's got to be change.
Yep. I 100% agree with you, right? Here's some of my issue that I have, not just with GOP, but also with the Democrats, is that why is Nancy Pelosi getting reelected for the gajillionth time when we have so many sophomore young blood, young fresh ideas sitting around waiting to come in and trying to make some kind of change? Do you not believe that term limits would be a great thing in Senate and Congress?
I would like to look at term limits. Absolutely. I can't tell you that I've, thought about that, outside of this call. But yeah, that would be something I would take a look at. I don't know what it would take to make that happen, but I would definitely be thoughtful about it. Right. I think there's a lot of people that want to step up to the plate right now. And I'm excited about seeing what our country can do and what new blood brings.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, we have VP Kamala Harris that's coming in. I really hope to see what kind of stuff, the legislation she's going to help pass, what kind of initiatives are going to take place under, her vice presidency. What kind of things are you kind of expecting or hoping from the Biden administration, besides getting COVID, under control and of course the economy back on track? What other things are you kind of thinking in terms of like, hey, this is a major issue and we need to tackle it?
Well, I mean, there's many, right? And so I think that looking at another stimulus for the, for Americans is going to be really important. I think that the reason why Georgia is so crucial is that we can't do any of this, as you know, if we don't have the Senate. So additional stimulus, I think immigration reform is really, for me, top of the list. But we also have to have, bringing healthcare costs down. I'm for Medicare for all. I don't know if that can happen. I just know that we need to fix our systems. You know, election reform, ethics and campaign finance, voting rights. You know, look at the appointment of judges is super critical and important for us. And, you know, you name it. There's so many, you know, crucial issues. But I got to say, it's going to be really difficult to clean up, you know, everything. And, you know, where this last president took us has been really a dark, deep place. And it's going to take a lot to unite the country. And it's going to take a lot to get us out of the pandemic and into economic recovery. But I believe that, you know, the president has to be focused. Biden has to be focused on an economic recovery that includes everyone, not corporations, but every single American.
Yep. Ada, do you feel that the Biden administration will possibly go after these corporations that got these, I would say, illegitimate PPP loans, that they did not really pass it on to their workers, but instead fired them and just kept the money on, just like you mentioned, 1% interest? Is that something, do you see the Biden and you know, Kamala Harris team go after and try to hold corporations accountable?
Well, Mona, I'm not sure that they violated the law, unfortunately. I don't have the specifics in front of me, but I think that there was a provision that if they didn't bring their workers back, they can pay the loan back in a 1%. So I think that if they gave it to their workers and if they didn't lay off the workers, then they didn't have to pay it back. So 1% if you pay it back. So I'm not sure that there was anything done wrong, but I think that it is important that if there's a need to do another stimulus, that there's regulation and clear rules about what's going to happen and transparency, which there wasn't the first go around. And if we have the Senate, we're able to do much more. And we should have those expectations of our president, of our incoming president.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, so I'm incorporated because I'm my own business. And I called up Wells Fargo because that's who I have my business account with. And I called them up and I was like, hey, I never got a PPP loan. Like, you know, can I go apply for it? They're like, no, you have to be invited to apply for it. I'm like, what do you mean invited? I'm like, I am a business. I'm a small business. I need PPP loan to survive. They're like, oh, just call us next week. And, you know, if you haven't gotten the email, just call us next week and we'll take care of it. I'm like, okay. I called them last week. And they were like, oh, I don't know who gave you that information. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know who gave me the information? It's one of your folks who gave me this freaking information. They're like, oh, we don't even have the money right now to give for PPP loan. So I don't know why they're asking you to give us a call. So there's all this confusion, Ada, where people like myself, and I have other friends who put their entire life savings in their small businesses, and their businesses are tanking. Like there's nothing they can do to survive. What is the, you know, what else, if God forbid, let's say if the Democrats don't get the Senate, God forbid, I have a very strong feeling that they will, but God forbid if they don't, like what happens, Ada? What happens?
Well, we're going to struggle, right? We are going to keep on struggling in that way because we're always going to be stopped in the Senate, right? And that's why it's so crucial. And, you know, Mona, I just want to tell you a little bit about, you know, my union and the fact that we have almost about 1,000 people in Georgia as we speak. And they're actually following an epidemiologist to work on a touchless, you know, door knocking, making sure that we're COVID safe. And we're knocking on 50,000 doors a day. And we're having 15,000 conversations with voters because we understand this. And our laid off workers, we had 120 travel from Southern California into Georgia to make sure that we're getting out the vote. And I too feel very, very optimistic about what's going to happen. We've got to have that faith that people will come out and vote. Even though I know we're not going to be able to see the results tomorrow, it's going to take a few days. I think we're going to come out successful, but we need Georgia. We need Georgia to change what's happening in this country. And of course, having, President Biden there will be better, but he needs the Senate. And we've got to do everything we can to make sure that we're calling and enticing voters and doing everything we can. Tomorrow's the day. The Republicans will go out tomorrow. I think you probably also know that Trump is there either today or tomorrow or both days.
Yep.
And he's there giving the misinformation. The fact that they talk about the fact that they claim that the election was rigged, and in the same breath, he asks people to vote. So I'm not sure the message is going to go very well with people from Georgia.
I quite frankly, somebody said, please, Georgia, don't be a Kentucky. Exactly. Ada, did it not, I don't know if you saw this, but there were a bunch of Trump supporters. I don't even call them GOPers or conservative because they literally are a cult. And these MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters had their own little rallies in Georgia. And they were literally yelling and screaming and saying that why should we vote for Perdue and for Loeffler? What have they done for us? We don't vote for a party. We vote for a man. This is a cult mentality, Ada. This genie is out. This genie is out of the bottle. And even the Trump supporters are at this point just like, we're not even voting for GOP. Screw the GOP. We're voting for Trump. Like, that's our guy. What?
That's going to be at the crux of a lot of the work that we need to do. I don't know how we put that genie back, as you call it, Mona, but it is devastating. It was a big part of 2020. It's another virus. It's a huge virus that is affecting, all of the United States, and it is encouraging the bigger virus because those are the folks that are not wearing the masks and believing in science, and it's so weird how everything is so connected and so difficult, but that's going to be part of the work that Biden and Harris have to do in order to move the country forward. So it's going to be slow moving in my opinion, but I'm sure going to be glad on January 20th at noon when Biden is confirmed and is inaugurated as president of the United States. I think that we've gone through some hard moments in the past few years, and we've seen the deterioration of our country. We have nowhere to go but up from now.
Yep. I 100% agree. Did it not absolutely nauseate you when Mitch McConnell and who is it? Some of the other GOPers who were the biggest, deniers of COVID, did not encourage mask wearing, allowed for people to get together in these, super spreader events, were the first in line to get their vaccination.
Of course they did.
I was writhing with anger. Mike Pence sitting there taking. You're the last person on the planet who should be taking, because you are the biggest denier. You were the head of the fucking COVID task force, and you royally screwed that whole thing up. What audacity do you have to sit on camera and get vaccinations while the rest of the country suffers?
Well, I completely agree with you, and it was a hard pill to swallow. And, I feel that one of the things that I try to do is try to find the good in everything. The only good part of that was that if they were taking the vaccine themselves, it was a sign that other people who are crazy might want to take it now. So, and we're all tied together. Our actions all affect each other. So I was very concerned that people would not, take it. I'm very glad that, that they took it to show others that they've got to do the same. So I had to find the good in everything. But Mona, it is, it's
Wow.
exactly. It's definitely insanity to see. It's the worst book that we could ever read. What we're living through.
Oh, this is the worst reality show episode ever.
Exactly.
And I was thinking about this today, that Trump is always saying, and whenever in the past 4 years, every time you would ask him a question about what's going to happen, he's like, you just have to wait and find out. This is not a reality show. This is a country. We're the largest, we're the most powerful country on the planet. You can't run it like a bad reality show. This is not The Apprentice. What the hell? Ada?
Exactly. But that's what he's used to. And, look at how he's acting now. He's used to, making his show. He's used to getting his way, and he couldn't get his way. And what is he doing now? He's crying like a baby, throwing his tantrums. And, it's incredible. He has the lives, so many people. He's got the most powerful position in the world. And it doesn't go his way, and he's going to do whatever it takes, fraud and all, right? Fraud and all, to see he can take back this country. When there was an election and people spoke loudly and clearly that they don't want his leadership any further, that, that somebody else has to lead this country, and he's not taking the will of the American people. He wants to fight as well and make a fool out of himself on his way out.
But I mean, you talk about an incumbent president who is so miserable and who's so, just so talentless and so incompetent that a former VP who's running for president is coming in and like sweeping with the highest number of votes ever for a president to win by. But I think what a lot of people are also forgetting is that there are 75 million people that voted for Trump. 75 million. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
No, it is. It is.
You think he's gonna run for 2024 and has any chance of winning that? I mean, not until before he'll probably head up in prison. But besides that, let's say he tries to dodge prison for his taxes in New York and DC.
I think he might want to make a run at it. I mean, I think he's going to try.
Yeah.
I think he's going to try. And we just have to work really hard so nobody forgets. And that we're frankly bringing in some of those 70,000 plus, people that voted for him.
70 million, you mean?
70 million, excuse me, 70 million people who voted.
I wish it was 70,000, 75.
Wishful thinking on my part.
Right? You're just like, that's a Freudian slip on your part, Ada. You're like 70,000. Like, let him 70,000.
That was it. Just like the 11,000 that he wants to be made up somehow in Georgia.
11,780 he asks for.
Very well. Precisely. We can find those now.
Yeah, just find them. Don't you have 11,780 votes lying around somewhere, Ada? Behind your couch, maybe. I don't know.
I can't. I mean, that's the equivalent of a city council election in a small city. Like, that's an incredible amount of votes. How dare he ask? How dare does the president, the most powerful person, ask someone to cheat on his behalf? To overturn an election. Like, what?
Well, he did it before. It's not, I mean, this is his pattern, right? He did it with the Ukraine ambassador. Remember, he tried to pull that crap. And now he's doing it again.
Impeached just a year ago.
That's right.
He was impeached just a year ago for the same thing. Mona, can you imagine if we know about this, right? And we know about the Ukraine thing. How many other times in his time in office did he do this over and over again? And how many times did he get away with it? With God knows what?
Gajillion times, Ada. I mean, look, we're not even going to know the full scope of the corruption probably for another 5-10 years when people go back and visit and be like, oh my God, he did this and he did that. He did what? I mean, let's not forget that Ivanka Trump got 17 different patents from China while her daddy was bad-mouthing China and calling it the Kung flu and the Chinese virus and whatever the fuck he calls it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's insane.
The level of corruption is fascinating. Ada, I grew up in Pakistan partially till I was a teenager, and I grew up under a dictatorship, and I talk about it a great deal here. And the thing is that when you live under a dictatorship, there's a certain mindset that you grow up with, right? There's this you always have the survival thing that's just always switched on, because that's the kind of environment you grew up in, because it was like constant danger. And I think what fascinates me about Trump supporters and his cult following is that they indeed want that. They do not really want a democracy per se. They claim that they want democracy, yet they fly the Confederate flag, which is bizarre because the North defeated the Confederate flag. So it's like they're always rooting for the losing team. So what fascinates me is that, a lot of times they were just like, this is my freedom, this is my right. And it's like, no, what you mean is that you're a cult follower and you just want this one dude with a bad comb over who has a lawyer that farts on live camera to come and be your leader. That's who you're talking about. Do you feel like this is a mentality that we know that it has resurfaced under the Trump administration, but do you think that is there going to be some level of evolution that's going to happen with these folks? Like, what's going to happen?
Well, I don't think that they're going to stand down the minute that Biden gets in and it's all said and done. I don't know how we turn that around. I don't know how it is, but we're going to have to deal with this for years and years to come. Mona, I don't know if you think that there's, a next step, but they really believe this election was stolen on top of everything else crazy that they believe in, and they're not going to let up, and they're going to be hindering us every step of the way.
Yep. I mean, do you think Navy SEALs would have to go in and get him out of the White House on January 20th?
I don't know. I mean, I hope that, all his colleagues, will speak to him. And, but, nothing surprises me anymore. I don't know about you, but, nothing surprises me, especially from that man at all.
Yep. I wonder if he's going to be hiding under the president's desk in the Oval Office, or if there's like a secret cupboard somewhere where he can go and lock himself and try to hide himself. Like, is there such a thing? Ada, have you heard of anything?
No idea. Mona, I've never visited the White House. Have you?
No, just from the outside. I haven't had the fortune.
No, I have no idea. But you know what? I'm sure that he'll be found anywhere he hides.
I bet anything, Ada, Melania Trump files for divorce on January 21st.
That's what the speculations are.
I mean, she's like, I don't want this anymore. I mean, she's just so over it. I mean, she's out there wearing jackets that says, I don't really care, do you? Yeah, we get them on.
That was something else.
That was really something.
This family, I mean,
they make the Addams family look normal. When you look at Addams family, you're like, normal, well-adjusted humans, kindness. That's kindness and compassion. They may be weird, but they're kindness.
Yes.
Then you look at Don Jr., Mr. Cokehead, and you're just like, wow, dude, why are you sweating so much? Like, what is going on with you? Right? And then you have your nepotism Barbie, like, oh my God, daddy.
No, insane.
What's gonna I wonder, of all the criminals that he's pardoned already under the presidential pardon, do you think he's gonna try to come out and pardon like Ghislaine Maxwell and these awful people? Because she knows a lot about him.
I have no clue. I mean, God, he's I actually stopped like hearing who the heck he's pardoning, because it's just, it's just insane. It's so upsetting. And, it's just so much, and he knows He knows that people are dealing with a pandemic and not really paying as much attention to that. But, he's making it hard for us not to notice what he's doing.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, these are his last few days, and even then, there's recordings coming out. I mean, with Ratzenberger, the Georgia Secretary of State, just being dumbfounded. You know what really gave me hope from that, Ada, is that when I listened to it, I had friends who are successful immigration lawyers. They called me up and they were just cussing him out. Right? They were just so mad. And I stopped and I said, when we'd be really in trouble, when if somebody like the Georgia Secretary of State turns around and is like, "You're absolutely correct, Mr. President. Let me go look for those votes." That's when you've
well. How many did in his term that we don't know about? He just happens. The Georgia Secretary of State just happens to be courageous enough, because that was tough. He did the right thing. No, Mr. President, you're not getting the proper information, right? Or however he said it. But he was, he was stern. But the dude kept going for an hour. What was it, an hour and 4 minutes or something? The conversation lasted, or maybe something like that. Yeah. It's crazy. The guy used every tactic he could to try to pressure the guy. It is, how many people has he done this to?
You're right. I'm talking about like on a voter level, right? On a state level, where states have come out and like he filed how many 60 lawsuits he filed
and lost them all.
He lost them all. He won one and he lost 59 of them, right? And even the one that he asked for the recount, Biden picked up another like 12 or 15,000 votes when they did the recount. So it was like, you should have just left that one alone. You lost. Exactly. You lost by even more than they thought you lost.
Like, but he's appointed are, have said there's zero evidence. They've thrown out all these cases, zero evidence of fraud.
That's right.
What's he going on to?
When your own Attorney General Barr, comes out and says, "Mr. President, there is no proof whatsoever of any fraudulent voters. Not just that, the most secure election ever, right? Because based off of what happened in 2016, we weren't going to let that repeat itself.
Yeah.
And here we are, dealing with a buffoon in the White House who's on his way out, and just would not stop at the level of corruption." I actually wanted to ask you, Ada, do you know what Kelly Loeffler's husband does? Do you know what he does?
No.
He owns the New York Stock Exchange. She is the wealthiest person on Capitol Hill. She is worth $500 million, right? So here is someone who is running and claiming that they care for the people of Georgia and can relate to them somehow, and then poses with a KKK member. How do you think it's looking for Georgia, for Senate to swing blue?
Well, like I said, I think the numbers are looking good, but it's too close. It's too close. I was on a call today with my colleagues from throughout the union who are on the ground, as I told you. Yeah. And it's close. We just have to get every single vote out. I think, and you said it, it's really hard to predict right now because of what happened in the general election. Did you ever imagine that 70 million people were going to vote for him? Over 70 million. It's outrageous, right? So I'm, even though I'm feeling very optimistic, it's really hard for me to say we're going to win that. It's feeling good. And, I think we have energy and enthusiasm on our side, but we've been surprised before. So I want to be cautiously optimistic, but we need Georgia. We talked about it already. So much is at stake, but we're just going to hang in there, and we're going to do all we can to make sure that our candidates win there.
Yep. I wanted to actually ask you, Ada, you're the chair of the Democratic Party of Orange County. So for you having this full-time gig, do you have ambitions to kind of go on run on a state level, on a federal level? Like, what are your kind of ambitions towards this?
Mona, I'm seeking to be reelected to the chair of the Democratic Party in a few. January 11th is the election, and I don't have anybody running against me at this point. I hope to be reelected for the next 2 years. I'm very focused on building the structures of the party in Orange County to make sure that we have, people like Katrina Foley, who's the mayor of Costa Mesa, who believes in science, to win a supervisor seat that we have in Orange County, an upcoming special election. And I'm very focused on that. In Orange County, we, just like in LA, we've had such a high rate of COVID. The hospitals are also full here, right? It's very difficult. And it's because people don't believe in science. It's different, Mona, in LA, because in LA, there's just a lot, it's a big population. People live in very close proximities. But here in Orange County, in my opinion, it's because people don't believe in science, the people that are leading us. And I am committed to helping change that, to building the structures in the party that are going to get Democrats elected. So maybe at some point, but I'm not ready to leave the union yet. I have a lot of work to do, and I'm learning a lot in both of my positions. So right now, it's not in the cards for me, but it's not to say that maybe later it won't be in the cards for me to run for something.
Got it. I mean, you just had Farah Khan, who became the first.
So proud of Farah Khan. Yes.
I am so proud of her. I mean, I knew she was going to win. And when I saw who she was running against, I was like,
well, Mona, she was a long-term incumbent, but it really shows, the work, the caliber of candidate that she's been, the caliber of elected official that she's been. I'm very proud of her. And now we have, quite a few Democrats in that city council. I'm also very proud of, of the strides that we made. We took 20 seats from Republicans. We made those 20 seats go from Republicans to Democrats. Yeah. And we got a lot of women of color elected. We have the first mayor of Tustin, a woman, a Black woman, Letitia Clark. We have the first Bolivian American as mayor of Santana, Vicente Sarmiento. And, you name it. I can go through quite a few cities. We took super majorities in the cities of Buena Park, of quite a few other cities. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting right now, but we made a lot of strides in Orange County. And that's what for me, the local politics, that's where the rubber meets the road. And I'm committed to helping Democrats in Orange County, and making sure that immigrants grow their voice. I'm the first immigrant to head the Democratic Party in Orange County. And I'm very excited, Mona. That's what drew me to going to your to your event when I came to see you. I think it was a Persian restaurant where we were.
Persian restaurant, yes, and we did the Latinas night out. Was it
very cool? I wanted to make sure that I was supporting women of color, and that's how our friendship began. And it's just great to see what you're doing, and I'm so thankful to be invited.
Oh my God, no, it was my pleasure, and I'm so glad we met. I actually want to go back to the union that you're a part of, and before we started the live stream, you mentioned to me that 90% of the union members are struggling and suffering, and you said because they are immigrants. You said there's a lot of them that have contrived COVID, that are sick or have passed away. I mean, what percentage of these folks are hospitalized or have passed away? And I mean, how are they surviving? Like, this is just so rough.
So we've had over 16 of our members die, and I got to say, I went to a non-COVID related funeral. of one of our members prior to it getting so bad. And I got to say, I went in there very early, made sure that, if I saw a couple of people coming into the church, I stepped out, I paid my respects. And when I was leaving the parking lot, I found another of our member walking, and he stopped me, and he just right there told me about 3 or 4 of our members I hadn't even heard of who died. So I know that we're not going to know who we've lost until we get back to the workplace. But people in our industry lived in close proximity to each other. They're service workers, so it's really hard. It's just really difficult. So they're getting infected in high rates, but also they're losing a cousin, they're losing a brother, they're losing a wife, they're losing a husband, they're losing a son. We had one of my good friends, Ramiro. He was hospitalized for about 2.5 months, and then right in between there, we had another one of our members, Ricardo, who was hospitalized for almost 3 months, had to learn how to walk again. And it's insanity what we're seeing. There are people that are concerned that their immigration status will, hurt them. And so sometimes they wait too long to go into the hospitals. Others are concerned that they don't have health care and they don't know how they're going to do it. There's just all these myths and all these difficulties. And when you're in the middle of it, Mona, you don't know what the hell to do. Like my son had COVID very early on in March, and I didn't know what to do with myself, and it was very early. Hardly any testing was done. They wouldn't even give him a test. But, even being someone who always advocates, I was paralyzed. I didn't know what to do, right? And thank God he made it through and he's doing well. But, my Facebook feed, I'm sure that your Facebook feed and many of your listeners' Facebook feeds are full with people who are losing, who have symptoms, who are hospitalized. It's hitting us really, really hard. And on top of the economic uncertainty. So we have done food banks for our members. We have raised funds for our for folks who don't have documents, who haven't received any money. We're doing all we can to make sure. But some of I just heard from one of our members today. He had COVID. He is not working in his union job with us, but he had to take a FedEx job. He contracted COVID at the FedEx job because they didn't enforce the mask. And so people are having no choice but to go back into even more dangerous fields in order to make ends meet. They don't have the luxury of being able to be in front of a computer and doing the work that we can. They've got to go figure out how to make ends meet for their loved ones. So very, very tough times. And then with a crazy president, you don't know where he's, what he's going to do from one day to another. Uncertainty on top of uncertainty on top of uncertainty. But, Mona, they're fierce. Our members are fighters. Instead, they went to Arizona and they helped turn Arizona blue. And I'm really proud. We had over 400 people who went from August, or maybe right before August, till November, 100-degree weather. They moved to Arizona to make sure that they help change their country. And that's what, members in my union do. And I feel proud to stand with them. Even in the toughest tribulations, they find enough courage to participate and make sure that they're part of changing their democracy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ada, what you just said it gave me chills, and it's just so powerful what you just said. I mean, you're talking about people uprooting themselves, moving to another state, right? Enduring this level of heat and massive lifestyle change to be like, we care enough that we need to help make this big change, and to be able to do, a lot of people do a lot of talk, but for people to actually take action and do that, I mean, kudos to them, and I mean, kudos to you guys on what you guys are doing. I know I want to be mindful of your time, because I know you have a 7:15, so I don't want to. We have about 5 minutes, and we can wrap this up if you like. I wanted to actually ask you about. Here we are in this position, with COVID and everything. One of the news that I've been hearing. So I'm a former finance girl. I used to work on the trading floor in New York City, and when the market crashed, when the bubble burst in 2008, my job was, I was laid off in 2005 because we were the first wave of layoffs when I worked at Citi. Someone told me, I was talking to a finance friend, someone told me that this massive downfall that's headed our way is going to be worse than what happened in 2008. Not to add fuel to the fire here and add to people's, anxiety and fear, I want to ask you, what are some of the things that you're hearing? What are some of the things that you're, being told about how bad it's going to be come 2021 now with, the COVID spiking cases, people not being, the moratorium's going to end come January, the amount of evictions that are headed their way, commercial real estate is going to tank because people aren't going into work. What are some of the things that you're hearing?
Well, because we represent a lot of renters, that is definitely what is on the minds of people, and the difficulty, not only from our union members, but also from the broader social justice community, where we need to step up and make sure that we're helpful somehow. But it's just we don't know what's going to happen, so that is an additional difficulty that we are facing. We're hearing that, I'm very hopeful that our industry comes back, once we, maybe June or July, or partially, at least not at this 90%. What we need is to start obviously making it safe so people can slowly but surely start going back. So, I think that the COVID vaccine is going to allow us to start trying to make plans long term. But, I guess I want to see the glass half full, and say, that hopefully in 2021 we'll see, part of our industry. So when I'm talking about the union, I'm thinking about, how at the, last part of the year, the, middle to last part of the year, we see some people come back. But, we're talking about entertainment venues, the Dodgers and, all the basketball and, we're talking about LAX. We have 4,000 workers at LAX who are a very, very small portion are working. As you know, we're talking about, Universal Studios and Disneyland at some point, when we go back, when this vaccine happens and we can stop the spread, even though right now it's hard to visualize that, our members are anxious to go back to work when it's safe. Right. But they're anxious to contribute again and to feel as a whole part of this of our community. So I'm hopeful that, that the vaccines will take us to that, and one of the things that we've seen in every single time that we struggle with our economy, gets hit the hardest is our members. Right. They're the canaries in the coal mine, right? They get hit first. Low-wage workers are hit. And one of the things that we've seen, and that's why we're fighting also, is that in 2008, when the economy fell, many of our workers were laid off.
Sure.
But when the economy came back, they were not called back to work. They lost. They were not. After 9/11, when our industry was disseminated as well, right? After the terrorist attacks, what happened? Everybody came back to, like the industry came back and they hired all new workers. And so what we're doing is we're passing legislation city by city. We're now going to try to pass it, California wide, to see if we can get a recall for our workers. So once the industry's up, we need all those workers that were there prior to the industry to come back. Once the industry is back up, because we cannot have workers be out for a year and then not have anywhere to go to when the economy or when things start opening up. So we're going to fight for that. We're asking our elected officials to help. All we want is for them to go back to their jobs. Is that too much to ask for?
No, I mean, it's a very, very reasonable. And then I would think that the new employees that they're hiring, I mean, I'm sure they're hiring them for a fraction of the cost of what they would pay their former employees. And that's why they're bringing in young blood, because they're like, hey, you don't have any experience, but let me give you chump change compared to what I was paying the other person who was way more skilled at this job.
Yeah. And Mona, our union places pay better than the rest of the hospitality industry that does not have a union. So can you imagine? They're already at very low wages. Those people have to go back to their jobs. They cannot be out of, they dedicated decades of their lives to those jobs. We need to return them.
Yep. I wanted to actually ask you one last question and we'll wrap it up, is that, the members of your union are essential workers. So, right, I mean, are they not considered essential workers in a way?
In a sense, yes. I mean, we have, there might be some that are essential, but, so are you talking about because of the vaccine?
Because of the vaccine, because I want to know, I mean, shouldn't it be prioritized that folks that are members of your union should be kind of pushed towards a full, in front of the line to be like, let's get you vaccinated so we can start opening some of the venues?
Mona, I'm not sure. The reason why is because we have, grocery workers, we have hospital workers, we have, convalescent workers. Those are essential workers, and they should be in front of the line. Now, the difficulty comes, the 90% of our workers, there's some people in our industry that are working. There's some people that are non-union that are working. Think about who is staying in a hotel right now, Mona. They're the anti-maskers.
Yeah.
They're the ones that just want to party, that go into the pools, right? And they want to do that. And how do you think our members are able to deal with that? Are they able to tell a guest in a hotel, go put your mask on as an employee? Isn't the guest always right? So it's a very difficult situation, right? Because we do have some, being there, it's essential for you to go to work and feed your family.
Yeah.
But it's not essential to go to a hotel and lounge, right? So it is very dangerous right now for the places that are, semi-open or partially open, and some of the employees that are there, I worry about, because you don't know how much enforcement we need. Instead of getting vaccines, what we need the employer to do is give their employees health care.
Yeah.
Give them health care so they can get through this pandemic, and then we'll wait so we can get our vaccine when we need to get it. But we need our essential workers, our hospital workers, to get them first.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100% agree with you. Ada, I want to be respectful. I know we went a little bit over. I wanted to actually ask you, how can I and the followers and the watchers could offer you our support to what you're doing and what the union's doing? Where can we follow you? All that good stuff. Because this has been such a great conversation. So thank you.
I loved it, Mona. Thank you. I just want to say that, we have a special election coming up in Orange County. We need all hands on deck. So if you're watching from Orange County, the supervisor's race Katrina Foley, Mayor Katrina Foley from the city of Costa Mesa. But you can find us, so you can help us at ocdemocrats.org. That's ocdemocrats.org. And Mona, for me, it's like when we uplift democratic values, we're uplifting our community. We're talking about the disenfranchised. Those are our values of bettering wages, of keeping communities safe, of science, of climate change. And that's why I'm so committed, along with to the Democrats in Orange County, the elected officials, our great community of activists, our clubs, and the residents that voted and move the democratic values forward. So I want to thank you, and I hope that you'll bring me back, Mona. I've had a really great time being here with you, and it's amazing. You keep moving up despite the pandemic. You keep it up. You make us proud.
Thank you so much, Ada. You're so kind, and oh my God, yes, you can come back anytime you want. I'm absolutely going to bring you back on again. It would be my pleasure and honor. And I really thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. This was just such great information. So thank you, and please stay safe out there. And thank you for providing us with information for Mayor Katrina Foley, right? That's her name?
Indeed, Mayor Katrina Foley.
Awesome. Do you you like people to follow you on social media, and is that like a thing for you?
We have a Facebook on the Democratic Party of Orange County, where they can be, right in the mix of things. And of course, we want as many people to be active. That's the best way you get democracy, right? So if you're involved in shaping your democracy and picking your candidates and electing them, that's the best way to move forward. And please follow us on Facebook, Democratic Party of Orange County. I think we also have a Twitter account and an Instagram account. And I just want to thank everyone for listening and hearing Mona and myself speak the crazy truth of what's happening in our country right now.
My God, Ada. January 20th is around the corner, and I look forward to better days, Ada.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mona.
Thank you. Take care. Stay safe out there.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. That was the lovely Ada Briceno. I had a wonderful conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I definitely enjoyed that. If you're just joining in, I highly recommend going back and watching this video, because Ada Briceno, who's the chair of the Democratic Party of Orange County, was just with us, and she provided some really great inside information, and her being part of United 11, which is an amazing union. And I do highly recommend for you to go on back and watch this and even share it. I mean, you're talking about the amount of waves and the amount of great work that the Orange County Democrats in Orange County are doing. You guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. It would mean the world to me. You can go to Mona Shaikh Comedian on youtube.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Mona's Comedy, and on Facebook at Mona Shaikh Comedian. You guys, I will be back tomorrow. I think I'm running like 2 sessions tomorrow. One is at noon, because I have an Israeli comedian and activist who's going to be joining us. She, believe it or not, did not join the IDF and got punished for it. Her father did the same thing and went to prison for it in Israel. Yeah, she is quite the badass, and so was her daddy. So I will see you guys tomorrow at noon. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a good night. Stay safe out there. See ya.